¿Quieres?
Hello, welcome back. This time I'm gonna try something different. Today I'm gonna interview my wife. This is Caro Arevalo. She's a visionary artist and YouTube channeler or something like that. And I just thought it would be interesting to talk about something that we've both, I guess, always...
Talk about?
Yeah, something that we always talk about. And the question would be, or the theme would be, that life is only exciting if you make it. So first of all, I just wanted to thank you for being here and coming into my beautiful house. As you see, I've decorated it perfectly.
Thank you for paying me for being here.
Yeah, of course. It's you're a high-end influencer. I'm trying to make the most of my quick earned bucks in the quarantine. So well, I know you, of course, but I would just like to hear a little bit from your own perspective in terms of life. I've had an episode where I talk about what life means for me or how to see life as, but now I just want to hear from you.
Well, recently you were playing this talk by Alan Watts, and that got me thinking a lot about how the same physical thing might be happening and just how we see it changes the whole scenario. So let's say today I could be painting and doing my own thing, and then I could start being very cranky because I need to go and cook lunch. And it sucks, I can't work, I need to
My husband isn't helping.
I need to cut my painting day and start cooking, and then while cooking just thinking can we just get this over with? Can quinoa cook faster? Blah 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 blah. Or I could enjoy having a break from painting and realize that cooking is another art form, and I can create all these new dishes and enjoy this hour break or whatever. So it all depends on where we look at it. I think one of the breaking points for me was when I was living with roommates in this railroad apartment room, and I had no windows, and my room only fitted my bed. And instead of focusing on the fact that, oh, this room sucks, there's no windows, it's dark all day, and I was there for a year, I realized that was the perfect opportunity for me to dive into my inner worlds.
Okay.
So I actually ended up doing some of my favorite artwork up until today. I ended up knowing myself way more. I ended up healing a lot of stuff that I would have not seen otherwise. So it's so important to just have the perspective of making the most out of it instead of focusing on the negative. And that's just a life changer, even though you are on the same exact physical space. And something that, I love talking about is also that how could we not be excited if we're floating in a magical rock in space where there are seeds for things that help us live all in symbiosis? And it's not only the seeds, but pretty much every single living organism is helping other living organism make its way through life. So we are all evolving together, we're all changing together, and we're flying in space. We don't even know why. So that's amazing.
Fair enough. So I guess the last episode I did, I explained the other perspective, which I think is what brings people down the most.
Right.
Which is that they don't see this idea of living on a planet in the middle of nowhere in space as something magnificent or something uplifting, but rather something depressing, because it's it's meaningless. It's just another planet out of a billion planets and whatnot. And I used the Alan Watts concept of the fully automatic model, meaning that we are just a fluke in a blind, unconscious universe, and that we're just here because that's what happens, and that there's no meaning behind it, and therefore we're just here. It's just a ride in the sense of we didn't want to be here. We were just kind of pushed into consciousness by chance.
Right.
So in that sense, given that life might be hard sometimes, or you're not in the place that you would like, or that you don't achieve the things that you would like, I think that a lot of people feel sometimes that life is not worth it. And though I don't think that, I understand that, like, that point of view. So I don't know, what do you think about that?
I can relate to that point of view as well, because that was my motto when I was younger, and I was more connected to depression, and I was focusing and relating a lot to the fear. I feel that whenever we are in this kind of endless cycle of feeling our life is meaningless, we are also afraid of making a change because it won't take us anywhere, because we're not good enough, because we don't have anything to offer, because the world doesn't care, because I don't have the opportunities, etc. So I feel that the best way to go about it, if we actually want things to change, is to start making one change a day.
Okay.
And I feel that one thing that we all have available is movement. We all have a body that we can move, be it stretching, doing a workout, taking a walk in nature, whatever. And someone might say, I don't have money to subscribe to a yoga studio or a gym, or I don't know, the pesas.
The equipment,
the
weights?
equipment, yes. But there are 1,000 or millions of YouTube videos for working out, for stretching, walking in nature, walking in your apartment. Just moving really helps move all those things that are literally like physically stuck in our body. And that's the number one thing we can start doing in order to change how we're feeling. And I also think a lot about what are we eating. I feel our body and our energy and our thoughts, and it's all connected to what we eat. So if we're always eating processed foods, we're going to feel more like sleepy and como letardo.
Lethargic? That's a word.
Que como...
Kind of like, yeah.
Yes. So like getting more fresh foods like veggies and just raw stuff really helps, or just, drinking more water, sleeping good. There's so many things we can start doing one day at a time for things to start changing.
You think that the most important thing is to go start from the basics.
Yes.
And do little steps.
Yes, because we all know these steps help, but one thing is knowing it, another thing is doing it.
Yeah.
So that's what literally makes the change.
Fair
How
enough.
do you feel about that?
Well, I tend to be a big idea person, so I've always felt that you first have to have an underlying, like, all-encompassing idea that, let's say, informs the way that you live. Like one of the episodes I did was about how what we believe informs everything else that we do, meaning that if I believe that life is boring, then it doesn't matter if I'm doing, let's say, those small steps. There's an underlying idea that informs those things. And let's say even if I'm doing exercise or whatever, that idea is so persistent in my head that it will push me away from the experience, or it will it will filter it.
Right.
So I guess for me, like from what you're saying, and it's almost the same thing as this psychologist Jordan Peterson, which says what is something that you would like to do, that you would do, that you can do.
That you can
do. So it's kind of like a realistic approach. It's like, okay, if you want to like make a movie, let's say, or you want to be a filmmaker, right? It's like, okay.
What are the steps?
What is the first step towards that you would do, that you can do, that you would actually like see yourself doing, right?
Yeah.
And but on the other side, which is the thing that I believe kind of like is the blind spot from a lot of people, is that unless you have a really clear idea of what do you believe life is, you're kind of pushing away from a monster that you don't want to turn around and look.
Right.
Because let's say that you think that life is just this hardship between being born and dying, and there's no inner motivation or let's say inner motivation cannot be born because there's already an idea that's informing us, an idea that's preceding that. So I guess the way that I would see it is as a balance. It's like there's a big idea that informs every other idea that you have, like let's say your myth, your personal myth, or your personal beliefs. Yeah, and there should be like a one that you can identify from all of those, which is the core of it.
Right.
And then you have to be a small step person.
Yes.
So
like think big, act small.
yes, exactly
Yes.
like that. Which is, I think that's something an art piece that you did, right?
I did tote bags. That's it.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, it's kind of like that. So there's a big idea mixed with a big dream or a big like a vision that you may have, but it has to be matched with, let's say, the reality of you cannot reach a mountaintop just by jumping.
Right.
Like you won't get there. So you have to be patient and actually do the things that you can do to the degree that you are able to do them, and you will be willing to do them.
I totally agree with that. And I really believe that we need to permit ourselves to dream. And remember that this is just a play and this is just another game. So we can, if we think that we can do anything and we can dream of this amazing thing that I want life to be, then once you have that idea, it's bringing it back to your life today and seeing, okay, what can I do today? Let's say 3 years ago, I started a YouTube channel, which actually started by accident, but it started. And even though I thought like, oh, then I'll need all this microphones and gear and tripods and cameras. And at the point I just had my phone and I had no tripod or anything. So I just shot with my phone and I used tape in order to tape it wherever I wanted the camera to be. And that's how I went about it for 2 years. And it was good enough. I didn't use not having the gear as an excuse. I just realized this is what I have today. And how can this help me build whatever I want today? And things will start evolving and with time readjust in order to keep on like growing or evolving towards whatever you dream.
Yeah, so there's a phrase, I don't remember it correctly, but it's something like perfection is the enemy of I guess building your path.
Right.
Meaning that understanding that things won't be perfect like in the ideal way, and thinking that it has to be like that prevents you from being more adaptive or just working with what you have at that moment and building towards something better always, but understanding that things don't have to be perfect on the first try or on the first at the moment that you're in right now. So it's an ideal to have, but not a pressure to achieve every single time.
I think that the perfect balance in order to achieve things is knowing what you want, but letting go of the idea and letting go of the control that you know the right steps to get there. Because 99% of the time, life will take you in different routes that you're actually thinking.
Yeah.
And I don't know, this is my personal perspective, but I also think that whenever I have an idea of what I want, it might change with time.
Yeah.
And the way towards it might be very different than what I'm thinking. So just the balance in between knowing what you want, having a plan, but letting go of control to realize that that plan won't go as you planned it. It'll just change with time.
Yeah.
And we're always here to readjust to that.
Yes. So maybe the thing that came to my mind was when to adjust that dream or that vision that you had and when to keep going and fighting towards it. It's a difficult question, I think, because you don't want to get stuck in something that you know it has no, let's say it's a dead end, but you don't want to abandon it or use it as an excuse to never push a project or push yourself into achieving something. So it's always a doubt that people carry if they want to achieve that, right?
I think the best way to go about that doubt is the balance in between working with your intuition and trying your intuition to be as accurate as possible, and also being as true to yourself as you can. So you can always like make that balance within yourself. Am I actually just quitting this because I'm afraid, or am I quitting because I've realized this is not what I should be doing?
Yeah.
So I think that's where the other balance is.
Yeah. So what do you think about the steps that each person has to take in order to, or not steps, but maybe what do you think is the most important a person has to carry within them in order to maintain that positive attitude to it? Like, keep the momentum going. That's not cacao.
That's not cacao. I think we should all remember the song, Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
So what,
Yep.
like meaning that life is just a dream? Fair enough.
Yes.
In
Let's
what do you-
just have
what-
let's just have fun. We're flying on a rock. Like, why are we taking things so seriously?
Fair enough. So this is a good place to wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Thanks for doing this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, subscribe and share it with everybody you know. I think that we will be continuing this conversation on Caro's channel, which should be appearing somewhere right now on this video.
Yes.
And yeah, thank you for watching.
See you next time.